this will go on multiple levels because I understand all people and all things on all levels, and I don't want to dive too deep into explaining anything because nothing needs proof. But let's just take in the fact that the water you drink is clear. If it's clear water, it's clear water, and you want the molecules and the chemicals and minerals that are in it, which is the kind of juice, the kind of sap, okay? When you put vegetables in water or you steam vegetables and you boil them, if you drink the water, the living juice that was in the vegetable is the water, okay? When you smoke like a tobacco or a weed or something like that, you're basically sucking the leftover green life juice out of it, inhaling it, and getting it that way. It's on the higher level, literally higher level. And then when you get to eating the foods, you have the vegetables and the fruits, and you a lot of times eat them raw and fresh. Like if you have wild berries especially, and you'll notice that you'll have like more liquidy stools, especially if you don't mix it with other kind of foods other than breads, because the breads are just dried more, and you bake them so they're cooked more. So it's on an opposite level, where you take the grains and the oats and barleys and stuff, and you grind them up into, sorry, excuse my hiccups, I'm sorry. You grind them up into smaller, powderized things, and they're dry, and then you add water to them to try to rekindle some life into them, but in that way it's a little different. You're not getting any of that side of it. You're not getting the clear or liquid side of it. You're getting the compound, the bone side of it, the bread side of it, the pulp side of it. So, and the dry pulp was what helps the rocks form. The wet pulp is what helps the stuff flow in all different densities and viscosities, okay? So, in your body, with all these things happening, when we would eat, the reason that our mentalities have changed is because the more fresher you eat fruits, vegetables, and things that are of a dry soil, dirt, spice, pure, compound nature. We would say compound because you would take it from nature and eat it as purely as you could, but you'd try to powderize it and use it in some kind of the freshest form you could. So when I say compound, I mean more like a derivative of some kind of essence of, or an extract of these kind of things. So the more pure and straight from the ground or straight from the juice of an uncooked or raw fresh vegetable or fruit, you get that kind of clear, pure energy straight from the sun, okay? That's a way higher macular level, and we go into the gas level, which is even higher on the liquid level, on the liquid levels and stuff like that. And then we get into oils and brines and all that kind of stuff, which is more dense on the water levels. And then we go into like gases and kerosenes and stuff like that. That's more, like more viscosity, but still dense, but in a clearer level, because then we have, what's it called? It starts with an E. There's kerosene and I think it's actually just called ether, or something like that with the E. It's a gas kind of thing, but I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't even know if it's any either there. But long story short, with that, when we were in our more primitive or ancestral states, and we ate animals or other, like before we ate animals, we ate other people, we ate other things just like us, because we didn't even know better at one point. But now we're knowing better to do that, and pretty soon, when I say pretty soon, it could be another 100,000 years, but it could be tomorrow, we will all realize that we shouldn't be eating animals, because just like when you take a vegetable or a fruit fresh and you eat it in a fresh version, you're getting its memories of sun and freshness and whatever, and all the memories that you actually talk to your plants and stuff like that, that on a even, as above so below level, they understand, but on that level that you vibrate, not the level that you talk. But when you talk, if you mean it, you can vibrate at that level. So that's why people sing and whistle and play music around their plants and talk to their plants and touch their plants and actually feel love towards them. I do. I love everything. It's so fun and so awesome how energy runs through it. But anyway, the next part of the whole thing is where we were at one time when we were. Think about how, like I was saying, with the fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. Okay, the juices of those things were the waters go through you better. The powderized compounds that you mix back with water and you mix with one another to blend into like doughs and cakes and stuff like that. We know that sticks to our gut and sticks to our bodies, and it produces on a cellular level, and it just reproduces outward on a cellular level. We shape compared to the way we think ourselves to be. Because if we eat a bunch of snacks, we're like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this stuff, I'm going to get fat. You'll start getting fat. But if you eat that stuff and you are active and you don't think anything about it, and you realize and you drink a lot of clear water, it'll take all that stuff right out of you. Because it's a balance thing. And when we were eating more uncooked, raw animals or each other or insects or any kind of living thing like that, we were getting their more fearful memories, their blood juices in us. Think about the fact that like I know people who are very, very like academic and have degrees and all kinds of stuff, but they eat like raw steak and raw meat, and they have a twisted side. But their twisted side shows on an opposite like micro or macular level, but on a philosophy or in a logical way of thinking. Like they'll have lucid dreams or vivid nightmares, or they'll be into like horror movies and stuff like that, but they'll be really conscious and they'll be really logical and know their science and the education real well. They'll have, they've gone to college and done all the right things because, it's a psychological thing. On one level, a genius is the same thing as a psychological killer, but it just one focuses on one thing, one focuses on another. And there's nothing wrong with either of those, but one thing is I would prefer to know people of that nature or not of the other. But the truth is not really the problem. The truth is that we were all of those things getting to this point. So when we were eating those kind of materials and adding them to our bodies, they were turning us into monster juices, and we were more, because they were more alive, they bind faster. Your body can only get rid of so much when it's still living, and its juices are eating your juices and battling a war with your juices on a macular level. Say if you have dead trees, they're not going to overgrow living trees. But if you have living trees, they're going to overgrow the dead trees. But if you have two trees living to the same degree of livingness, they're going to battle each other back and forth, sort of to overgrow each other until they learn to become balanced. And that's what a balanced ecosystem is. They learn how to be happy with their size, with their quantity, with their availability, with their period of life. Like a morning glory lives a day, and some things live, like redwoods, live for hundreds and hundreds of years. But there's different levels, as above, so below. That's that whole thing. So, and at the same time, one tree grows for hundreds and hundreds of years and then falls over and takes a long time to decay, and it takes a long time to disappear. But on a very small level, grass grows side by side by side by side, just like trees do. But grass gets cut, falls down, dries up, shrivels away, comes back the next couple days later. It's just the same exact thing on a big level. And if you really, really understand what I'm saying, you can picture that right there. Picture a tree falling down and taking how long it would take for that tree to dry up and disintegrate, just from using our idea of the sun drying out a piece of grass on a smaller level, drying out that log, all the juices that are in it and all the stuff that's in it. That same piece of grass has all the same information in it, just less memory around it. Underneath the piece of grass is blank space. Underneath all things is blank space. Underneath you and me and our bodies and our world and our universe and our minds and everything is blank space. But at the same time, that blank space is filled with spirit, which is who we are and what we are, moving around at all times. So when we were eating those foods, I don't mean to jump back and forth, but I'm just being as honest and straightforward and talking from the heart. So when we were eating those things, those juices, and we still are, we're eating meat. And when we eat meat, we take in those concepts, those feelings, those attributes. Our genes want to adapt into those kind of genes. Yes, our minds realize to do certain things, but that's on a certain level. If we overcrowd ourselves with meats and fats and stuff like that, our on a cellular level, our comprehension back and forth between it's a cell's individual cells activities, like communicating back and forth with each other, slow down when it's got grease and fat and animal ideas going through it. Animal on a smaller level is just, minimal, but I mean it's still going on, and then it goes microbial, and antimicrobial, and tiny, and paramicrobial, and I don't know what's after that. Xenomicrobial. There's tons of just words we use for it, but it's so quantacrobial. I don't know. But either way, if we stop eating living things and we stop breeding, stop eating, stop breeding, there's no needing for overfeeding. You know what I mean? There would be so much more to the purity of life, to the pureness of all things. We wouldn't be making money off of having a farm full of cows. And I understand why we did it at one point. As above, so below. And this is the whole thing turning around from heaven to what we call hell and back to heaven. And then some people say that if it's going to the end, it's got to be bad. But the end is just the end of the illusion, which means that we live in heaven on earth. The heaven haven, the here haven, the haven of the heart, heaven. That's what it is. So, from this point on, all I can do is keep my heart as open as possible and keep spreading love as much as I can to all people and all things. And that's all I will do, because it's all I can do. I love you, and peace.